The scariest part of Pluribus isn't the others. It's the way Carol's completely alone in a world that insists that everything is fine. And the more I watch her, the more I realize I've been living a version of that story too. And the more I think about it, the more I think you might be living pieces of it too. Going through these layers is going to reveal an uncomfortable truth about this show and our lives. Here we turn to TV to feel better. So we walk away not just entertained, but understood. Welcome to The Real Spot. I'm Bobby Foster. Let's dive in. When we talk about Carol, we're talking about someone that feels like she's stuck in a different world than everyone else around her. And that's exactly what it's felt like to live with a chronic illness in this post-pandemic world. It's been almost 6 years, and while so many people got to go back to normal, I never really had that option. I've always been high risk. I've always had to calculate the danger everywhere I go. And I've always had to navigate this world differently because of my diagnosis of cystic fibrosis. COVID hits me harder. It takes more from me. It disables me every single time I get it even further. And it just affects my everyday life. It affects how I show up as a parent, as a partner, as a person. And so while everyone is going back to how things were before, going to concerts, doing what they do, I'm still moving through a world of invisible threats, a world that has told people that it's safe. Although COVID doesn't just affect the high risk, it makes everyone high risk eventually because it's disabling over time. But the fact of the matter is the world is pretending that it's over. So when I watch Carol maneuver through this world and talk with the others and the other immune people, and everyone is smiling and having fun and saying that they're there to help her, but she's just quietly there in fear and no one's really acknowledging it, it feels like looking into a mirror. And maybe you've lived your own version of that, COVID or not, just holding on to this truth that everyone else seems to not care about, to forget, to just completely not acknowledge. But once you're stuck in that world, there's another layer of loneliness waiting. Because we're all sold a lie when we're born, that independence is the goal of adulthood, that asking for help is a failure, that needing help makes you weak. But disability really shatters that illusion immediately. Because with disability, you learn that you need help, you need community. But it still is hard to turn towards it because of all of that brainwashing we go through about how independence is that ultimate goal. And when it comes to Carol, she wants to do everything alone. She prides herself on that independence. But as the show goes on, we see how she's so dependent on the others to provide things like food and power and safety, all of that. And she hates it because dependence, it makes you confront something terrifying, which is that when you rely on people, you also have to rely on them to care about you. And living with chronic illness, especially post-pandemic, has taught me that even though I don't want it to be like this, I'm very dependent on other people making the right decisions and making good choices so I can move through this world. I rely on my family, my wife, my mom, everybody. It is very humbling and it's scary because when you have to rely on other people, it makes you feel and be at certain times very vulnerable. And on top of that, on your bad days, you can also feel like a burden, even when you're not. That's another message we've been told to believe that's just nonsense. But then when you have scenes like when Carol overloads the others and they short circuit when she's showing her true raw anger emotions, I feel that. That's what it feels like when your health starts affecting everyone around you and it's just too much for some people to handle. And then you feel bad about it. But the reality is that's just life with a chronic illness. And maybe you felt pieces of that too before, like when you need help and you feel like you're too much for the people around you, even though everyone needs help eventually. But dependence isn't even the hardest part of all of this. The hardest part is what happens when people stop believing that the danger in the world is real. Because being ignored makes that danger feel even heavier. When Carol tries to warn the immune, they play it off, they laugh about it, everything's all great. They treat her like she's dramatic and paranoid. Basically, they say it's not that deep. And that's exactly how people talk about COVID right now. Like there's a virus that could take everything from me. My health, my energy, my life, and it feels like I'm the only one still paying attention to it. And when people stopped caring, when they stopped acknowledging the reality that we're living in, you start to lose motivation about caring for yourself too. A hopelessness sets in. In full transparency, there are times where I have just been like, whatever, screw it. I don't care anymore. Because it's just hard going through this situation when it just feels like I'm completely alone in it. And I wonder if Carol is going to get to that point during this season where she's just hopeless about the whole entire hive situation, where she feels just as invisible as I feel. And I bet you felt this way before too, when You try to warn people about something and they just dismiss you. You know how isolating that is. But here's the most important part that never gets said out loud, and the part society refuses to look at. This is the truth that hit me the hardest. Carol's loneliness isn't just something that resembles a disabled person's story. It's everybody's future, because disability comes for all of us eventually. Through age, accidents, illness, time. The body you have now is not going to be the body you have forever. And if we continue to build a world where disabled people are ignored, dismissed, isolated, treated like burdens, then eventually everyone will face that same loneliness, because your time will come when you will end up disabled. So Carol's not a warning sign. She's a preview. She's showing us what happens when a society abandons people when they need care, when they need acknowledgement, when they need community. And watching the others and the other immune treat her like she's the problem until she becomes one of them mirrors exactly how our world treats anyone who is disabled and not perfectly productive. And the truth is, you may have felt something similar to this too when you're burnt out, or when you're temporarily sick, or in people you know, aging relatives. And in those moments where you need help, they were met with silence. And that's why Carol's story hit so hard for me, because beneath the sci-fi and the post-apocalyptic dystopian society there, Pluribus is telling us a truth about disability that society refuses to face. If we don't take care of the vulnerable, we are building a future where every single one of us will eventually walk through this world alone. But it doesn't have to be that way. We could build community now. We can choose to care now. We can choose a world where none of us get left behind. Not Carol, not me, not you. If anything in this breakdown sparks something new for you, let me know in the comments. I'm Bobby Foster. Take care of yourself and keep letting TV make your life a little lighter.